Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of the program, Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Glad you're along for the ride. We got a lot to talk about. We have JC and we have Scott Carter, our normal Monday lineup. It's a bye week for the Gators. That could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Talk about the Gators, talk about college football, NFL, whatever you want to talk about. Major League Baseball playoffs are in full force, got one game left to play. But let's go to the Titan MR hotline. And we're joined by JC.
Hey.
Good morning, JC. How are you?
Well, I'm just trying to recover from a scintillating week 6 in college football. Unbelievable football games. I think we've all been waiting for games like this throughout the beginning of the season, QB, and I think we finally got them. And most notably, these kinds of games that everybody writes and talks about and calls legendary and storms the field over involve teams that can score points. That's never a 14-13 game or what was that game he played with FSU? What the hell was that? Yeah, 14-9. They're not like that anymore, QB. Basically, it's up and down the field type of football that gets people going, and that's what we saw. And we saw some memorable games. And you have to tip your cap to the folks in Knoxville. The 15 years of suffering has ended for them. Ironically, when everybody sobers up, though, they'll realize that it's probably going to be harder for them to get to Atlanta than the team they beat by 3 points. Second year in a row now that team has lost a game by 3 points, and they've stormed the field and toted the goalposts across campus. On campus here, you saw a team that I think was trying hard, playing as best they could, but they are limited in what they can do, and certainly LSU took advantage of Florida's defense. Defense.
I gotta interrupt you because I gotta get to. I mean, these guys here. So whoever Will and Jeremy are. Jeremy says fire Patrick Toney. Will says Shane will tell you don't understand football. Well, I don't know what you do, Will, for a living, but I will tell you right now, Patrick Toney's a good coach. I told y'all if you watched my show in May, we don't have any good players except one on defense. We have some good corners though. Here's what I want to say. I'm going to explain this one time on. Okay. Jaden Daniels made unbelievable throws and catches against our D. Did you, JC, you watched the game. You were there. Did you see anybody just running wide open?
Yeah.
You did?
A couple times. But no, I did.
I did. I thought we had good coverage on about every throw. And so my point is, I don't know how else to say it. He's a good coach. He's not going anywhere. They're not going to fire him, Jeremy. So if you need to root for another team, go find another team. They're not going to root for him. We have about one guy, maybe two on defense that will play in the National Football League. Not that that means anything, but we were a horrible defense last year. Okay? There's a common denominator there. That's all I'm going to say. I've been saying it for the last year and a half. We do not have SEC players on defense.
Yeah.
Ben Miller is the only one. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Well, if you got a problem with my comments, you're more than welcome not to listen. Okay, there's plenty of other places you can go. Have those people complain that they know more than our coaches. Billy Napier's not going anywhere. If you don't like Billy Napier, go find another team to root for. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Okay? They do know what they're doing. Okay, we got problems with offense too, people. We can't complete passes. All right. Okay. All right, JC. We're going to talk a lot about Florida LSU.
Okay, we'll talk about. Okay, let's do that. You asked me how I was doing before, for the weekend. I was going to get into the Florida LSU game, and then you.
We don't need to because everybody has their opinion about our defense. I get it. We stink. We ain't going to get any better.
Yeah, I mean, I was personally offended that they made. Unlike you, I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to take you to the promised land.
JC, hang on a second. Did I say that Jaden Daniels is going to take anyone to the promised land.
No, but what you said was he made some exceptional passes and all this.
Okay, I will come to your house and we can sit down and I will show you the unbelievable throws he made in this game.
I saw some of those passes. I hadn't seen them all year. Okay, for some reason
that's why they were unbelievable throws. Well, I don't know.
Well, right. So before the game Saturday night, you didn't see Jaden Daniels do anything like he did. It almost made me feel like Florida is.
But I will say this too: LSU has elite wide receivers. I mean, they got some dudes.
Well, those elite wide receivers forgot to play in 4 games this year until they came to Gainesville. So
they only lost twice. They've only lost twice.
That doesn't mean they played well. They didn't play well against Mississippi State. Did they? Did they play well against Mississippi State? No. So listen, the thing is that you got
Mississippi State's better than we are, though. That's why.
Well, but you got an average team coming in here and winning a high-scoring game against Florida. And I don't care what anybody says, even though you're going to categorically disagree with me. I did not buy the pass interference call on Dexter. You did.
That's called roughing the passer, and that was
roughing the passer.
So I will tell you this. I
don't believe it.
Well, you don't. I played the position. It was not roughing the passer when I played. In today's football, it will be on the tape that is sent around the league next year before the season starts. This is textbook roughing the passer. That's
then tell me where that textbook was in Knoxville, Tennessee.
I didn't watch the game.
You didn't.
All I know is I've had people tell me that Tennessee got 1 million calls, which is what it is. But the roughing the passer on Gervon Dexter was you can't draw like in the picture of the dictionary when it says roughing the passer. That's roughing the passer.
Here's one of our here's a former Gator, a friend of mine, basically saying we are making 5 look like Aikman.
Well, we did. It's not we. He made throws. Okay. So let me ask you this, JC. This is what I try to tell people. The other team has scholarship athletes. They're going to make plays. Okay. Let me ask you this.
All right.
Do you think LSU is sitting there saying on the second play of the game, we're making Anthony Richardson look like Troy Aikman?
Well, that was just one play.
Right. But
one play.
He made unbelievable throws the entire night. Okay. I will sit there. That is roughing the passer.
How is that rough? He's grabbing the guy and tackling him.
You don't have the ending of the play. He drove him into the ground.
He fell. Do you want him to defy gravity? Do you want him to defy gravity?
You asked me if it's roughing the passer, and I told you it's roughing the passer.
I think that's baloney. I believe that's baloney. That's a lousy call to make at the end of the game. I don't believe it.
But you don't have the full play there.
I can go hit play.
Hit play, and then that is roughing the passer.
It's called gravity. You can't stop yourself from falling on the guy once you grab him like that.
I'm not sitting here. I'm just telling you what the definition of roughing the passer is. All right, we got a text here on the Titan our text line.
Would you tell them in Tennessee, please?
Well, I didn't see the game, so I can't comment on it. Okay. Send me some pictures of that, and I'll tell you if it's roughing the passer. But that is textbook roughing the passer. Here's some text on the Titan our text line. It says Jaden Daniels looked like Bryce Young Saturday. He played extremely well. Tennessee can lose to Georgia and win all the rest and make the playoffs now. Yes, they can.
What if they don't?
To Georgia, they will still get in the playoffs.
Well, how do you know that? You don't know that. How do you know that? Well, what if UCLA goes undefeated in the Pac-12? What if TCU goes undefeated in the Big 12? What happens if Ohio State goes undefeated and Georgia goes undefeated? You're going to tell me once again they're going to throw Tennessee in there? And they didn't. I don't think so. I think Tennessee has to beat Georgia. You don't think so?
I think if Tennessee goes 11-1, I think they're in.
I think that would depend on a lot of things happening. I just named 2 things that would have to happen.
Well, UCLA's got a lot of football to be played, and the Pac-12 is terrible. So, anyway, we'll talk more with Scott Carter, but that is clearly roughing the passer. Everybody has an opinion, but by the rules, that is roughing the passer. It's no different than when you hit the ball out of bounds, JC. You're not supposed to go up there and drop it. You got to re-tee. No,
that's not true. When you hit the ball out of bounds, that is a border. When you hit a foul ball in baseball, that is a border. This is a discretionary, arbitrary call by an official, and nobody knows because of the ambiguity of that penalty. Nobody knows what it really is, especially the guys on defense. We've seen it in the NFL. We're seeing it in college. It's ridiculous. You can't. I mean, Tennessee, Alabama's guys could not touch the Tennessee wide receivers in that game. They couldn't play the game properly. They took it away from.
Well, we're not talking about it. We're talking brother. Joe says here on Facebook Live, we don't have the players for the desired scheme of defense, which is a basic defense. Anybody can play in this defense. He's saying, well, I can't find it now.
Padres hat on now.
Anyway, so yeah, here it is. 3rd and long, and we got our guys 8 yards off the ball. That ain't got it. Look, have you seen anybody? I want somebody to send me pictures of anybody in college football now that plays press coverage. Georgia presses in certain situations. Alabama presses in certain situations. But we ain't going to press. And I don't have a problem with it. Because here's what's going to happen. You get up there in somebody's face against these wide receivers in today's world, they're going to run right by you. And then people are going to be texting going, we can't cover anybody. Why are we playing press coverage? Because we can't get to the quarterback. If you're going to play press coverage, you better get to the quarterback. And if you've watched the front four of the Florida Gators this year, they can't rush the pass. That's the first time Gervon Dexter's hit the quarterback all year, I think. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So somebody sends me this picture. I can't remember what the down distance was, but they had a slot receiver. Our safety was 12 yards off. Nobody underneath, okay?
Yeah.
What people don't understand is it was a zone blitz. We brought 2 from the other side. We dropped Princely Amuli. I can't pronounce his last name, number 33. He's a defensive end outside linebacker. His responsibility on that is to drop underneath that, okay? He did, but he was slow getting there, so they complete the ball. People do not understand why things are happening, okay? That's the thing that irritates when people act like they know football. They don't know football, okay? And I'm telling you right now, we are not good on defense. I told you that in May. We're not going to get any better, so live with it. You can change the scheme. You can blame the players. You can blame the coaches. It ain't the scheme. I can tell you that right now, okay? I'm off my soapbox now.
Well, listen, it's like that guy who texted said.
Yeah, Jeremy says we never press, even the broadcast. Yes, we're not going to press because you people, after we press one time and can't get to the quarterback. Okay, so JC, you played flag football, right? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Okay,
right.
So if the guy can't rush the passer and you're out there playing man to man, I got a picture here, a video of me on the golf course on Friday with 2 PGA players playing man coverage on fairway number 10 at UF. Okay, Billy Horschel was playing corner. Matt Every was playing wide receiver. I had all day to throw. Matt Every ran a horrible route, got open. I completed it to him. That's playing man coverage. That's what would happen if the Gators played a lot of man coverage. It's exactly what would happen.
Well, what do you think the answer is, QB, since you've got all the diagnosis down?
What is your question? Because you got to remember, JC, I'm multitasking here. I got multiple things going on.
Well, you're talking to me right now. You can go. Okay. What is the answer, since you've already diagnosed the problem of this defense? What's the answer?
Oh, I told you the problem back in May.
I know what the problem.
Where we didn't have good players.
So what's going to happen then?
They got a lot of good recruits coming in. I don't know if that's going to change in 1 year, but I mean, I'm just telling you.
How about transfer?
If anybody can sit here and tell me that our front four has played well this year, you're going to have to prove it to me, because it ain't. And they haven't, and they're not going to. They are who they are. Yeah.
Well, they're 4-3, and
like I said, if they won 7 games this year, which I said in August or maybe in July, it would be a hell of a year.
Yeah. Well,
here's the problem: the Utah game screwed everybody's in the Gator Nation's point of view of football for the Gators. Because here's the thing: Utah's not very good. Utah should have 3 losses right now. Quite honestly, they only have 2, but. They're a good team, but they're not very.
They weren't very good. Well, okay. Well, whatever they are, they're probably as good as anybody that's come in this building. I would take them to beat LSU. I would, and so I don't. I think Florida's best game was actually maybe against Tennessee, the one they lost.
Right. And Tennessee has a horrible secondary. As we saw again Saturday, Bryce Young threw for 400 and something yards on him.
He had the best day of his career. And that's unbelievable, considering his head was literally taken, could have easily been removed from his neck. in that game. And so, Jimmy, all I'm going to say is this: is that Florida was down 21 points, and to me, put itself in position to come back and at least tie the game. But we had an arbitrary roughing the passer call that you think was, I don't think was. And the thing is that I think they should be credited for at least trying to. I mean, they didn't quit, and they came back. And LSU's not going anywhere. QB. I mean, I know what these teams are.
JC, here's what I tried to tell people the other day when I saw them at their tailgate. I said, as much as I love the Florida Gators, and I want us to win every damn game,
yes,
I think people do not realize that for the last 10 years or so, we are in the middle of the pack. Okay,
well,
but your comment right there just proved my point. You said LSU's the same we are. They're you're calling them a horrible team. They're just like we are. There was no difference in those two teams. Okay, no difference.
Well, you could make the case that they had some better wide receivers or whatever you want to call it. Their quarterback was more.
Well, their quarterback played better than our quarterback.
Yeah, okay, he did on that night. But my God,
but that's what I'm saying. They're identical teams. They're identical.
But this guy couldn't get a first down against Florida State. He couldn't get a first down.
You can't.
I get it.
How many times do I tell you every game is different?
Sure, I get it. I understand that. But
so you can't worry about what Jaden Daniels did in game 1 against Florida State. It's game 7.
Yeah, sure. But I'm just saying, I don't think the guy, I think Florida kind of helped him out a little bit. And you say, well, they were great in coverage. I didn't think they were great in coverage. Yeah, he made some good.
You go back and watch that game, and you tell me if anybody was running
looking down at it. I said, oh, my God, look at this guy. That was easy.
No, he made unbelievable throws the whole night. I'm just going to tell you right now.
All right.
I mean, you were busy doing other things. You were not watching the game. Trust me.
What? Okay. Well, I tried to watch.
Brandon asked here, how bad is it that AR missed some protection checks? Is that a concern? Yeah, that's why you see a lot of 2 tight ends in the game at times to help with protection. Look, we're a good running football team. We were not going to be a good throwing team. I told y'all that all year. It ain't going to change. It ain't going to change next year. So we got a couple of texts here. This is Dave in Macon. He says, as AR goes, the Gators go, and so do the turnovers. Unfortunately, those are attributed to him as much as the loss could be attributed to critical turnovers. I was hoping to see at some point more development, AR's consistency and efficiency with elementary throws and decision-making. I think his mental and physical states are fragile. He does appear to relish running the football, which is curious to me at 6'4", 240. Last point, why aren't the run? Oh, I read this one like last week. Why did it just pop back up?
I'm gonna get you high blood. I'm gonna get you high blood pressure medication, QB.
I'm perfectly fine because, look, like I tell everybody, I don't know a whole lot about things, but I do know football. All right, this says Miller was the lowest rated player to recruit in our starting lineup on D. All the other stars have plenty of SEC and Power 5 offers. How is it possible they're all bust? I don't know. I'm just telling you, my eyes for the last 2 years. I think Jalen Marshall. I think we got some good corners. I really do. People laugh at me there, but I think they're good. Good morning, guys. Shane, I don't know. I don't think our secondary is our problem. We can't get any pressure on the quarterback. You're exactly right, Daryl. Creed Whittemore's going to Mississippi State. The kid has to be happy and maybe fits better. Yeah, Creed is decommitted and is going to committed to Mississippi State. Perfect fit. He'll be like Wes Welker or Mike Leach. Yeah, it's a perfect fit for Creed. Creed would be our fastest receiver on our team, by the way.
Faster than Ricky Pearsall?
Yes. Creed is like state championship fast in like the 100 meters.
So he's a track star. Okay.
They can play quarterback. I mean, that plays wide. He'll be a slot receiver at Mississippi State. Josh from Mississippi says, I don't even know where we go from here in regards to the defense. Saturday, like the scheme issues at times, player execution at times, and other times both. Then tackling, not everyone running to the ball. Look, I just don't think we're very good on defense. Gators go 4-8. Napier and his 101 assistants need to move some players around and get some younger players playing time. Yeah, we'll see. So I got another text here on the Titan MR text line from Robert. Robert says, Shane, what are your thoughts about LSU's band playing during Tom Petty's song? I know a lot of Gator fans are upset about this. I specifically, with binoculars, watched the band at LSU. They did not start playing Tiger Rag or whatever their fight song is called until the very end of the Tom Petty song, when it was kind of weeding out and the crowd kind of quit singing. So I know a lot of Gator fans say it's low class. Look, I'm huge when it comes to the bands in college football. I think that's the pageantry, what makes college football great. So I love the LSU band, by the way. Now, they only had half their band there, but they did not start playing their stuff until the end of Won't Back Down. So the people don't know the whole story there. I know we had fans throwing stuff at their band, but they were not disrespectful. I watched the drum major. Isn't that what he's called, JC, the guy on the ladder?
Yeah.
I watched him the whole time that they were singing, and he waited till the very last minute that he could to get their song in.
I feel much better that we have been apprised of what the Tiger band from Dixieland was doing in the fourth quarter. Makes me feel better about the whole night, actually. But I'll tell you that LSU's won 10 out of 13 against these guys, against Florida.
And you keep telling about how bad they are.
Well,
what does that say about us?
Look, by their standards, they're just as disappointed as Florida fans, right? And it's not 10 years, dude. It's more like 14 years. And, 09, just do the math. 09 was how many years ago? 13? So, listen, Florida fans are just they're hungry to get back to Atlanta, and they're tired of waiting, and they've seen a lot of turnover. I get the frustration.
Joseph says on Facebook, I'm afraid Big Whit will be leaving after this year too. He's got to be unhappy with as little as he's played. Yeah, he'll probably be at Mississippi State as well.
Well, it just frees up a spot for someone else. I think Billy's got to go in that transfer portal, don't you, QB?
We got a really good class. We're like 8th in the country in recruiting for next year, but we got to go to the portal.
What about the portal? What about the portal? I
just said that.
Okay. Thank you.
Todd says, why do the RPO if passing is suspect and run up the middle stop? The defense has nothing to think about. Runs are on the perimeter. AR keeping the ball now and then would open it up. We do run RPO. It's just we're not very good when it comes to decision making and throwing the football. I don't know how else to put it.
Well, what if
Justice says Creed Whitmer has 6 total TDs Friday night at QB. He will be a big loss for this class. Probably sick of not seeing his brother. Yeah, Creed is a really good high school player, and he will be a tremendous slot receiver for Mississippi State. I don't think you could draw. I don't think you could pick a better system for him for his athletic ability.
Right, it makes sense. They can't win.
Andy says on a side note, the gal who kicked the 25-yard field goal won $1,000. And 90,000 was watching. She should have won more than that for making that field goal. All right, we just got another text here. This is from somebody up in the Panhandle. It says, I don't understand all the media narrative that AR is so young. He is in his 3rd year on campus. The real story to me, UF only has 4 seniors on his depth chart, and one of those is a second-string punter. It's a young team, but, yeah, Anthony's been in college football for 3 years. They're a young team, but that doesn't mean, playing young people is the way to go, because those young people can transfer and go to another school. So anyway, look, I'm not surprised at all. I knew it was going to be a rough year.
I know you. Well, look, we both predicted 7-5. Why are we surprised? That's the thing. I asked this last week. What is surprising to so many people? And I do agree with you about what the Utah game did for expectations.
And if you go back and watch the Utah game again, I said this after the game, tremendous win for the Gators.
Yeah.
Everything that happened
went
the Gators' way.
Yeah, yes, it did.
And Utah had multiple turnovers on the goal line or in the end zone.
They did.
I mean, it couldn't have been a better script for game 1, but we should not have won that game, quite honestly.
Did you know Hendon Hooker was 24 years old?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I've been in the league for 2 years. I went in the league at 22. Are you in the market to buy or sell a home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor, will call a banker. Emma Parrish will value fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Here's the question to you, JC. Let me just say, you're one of these Facebook Live guys or Twitter guys. Fire Patrick Toney. blah blah.
I,
Okay,
no, I'm
so
not.
my point is
Like
you can do all that bitching and complaining on social media or whatever. What's good's it going to do? Ain't nothing going to change.
Well, people want to be heard. That's how it
I guess. Is. Well, the coaches ain't going to listen to them. I can promise you that.
Well, listen, Gator fans should know that coaches don't listen to them, especially after what they witnessed with Dan Mullen for I don't know how long. But yeah, listen, the first thing people have to get in their heads is that this is the worst roster Florida will have under this coach. Okay,
no question.
And so that is where you start. And 7 wins with a big win against at the time a top 10 team was a good start. But the grind of the SEC is going to take its toll on you over time, and it's going to expose where you're weak at, and it's going to try to hopefully you can try to find where you're good, what you're good at. But QB, when LSU going up and down the field was just hard to swallow. It just was hard for me to swallow because I hadn't seen them do it all year.
Right, but I try to tell you, everybody's doing it against us because we are not good on defense.
Yeah,
I mean, Missouri went up and down the field on us. So, JC, on the Peachland Dental picks this week, you went 7-7. I went 8-6. Yeah. You're 49-46 on the year. I'm 47-48.
Boy, well, so that's just mediocre.
I've caught up to you, kinda.
Yeah. Well, you have. You had a big week. You did. You won 11 out of 14 games. My triple play special went 2-1, so I'm back off the schneid there, QB. Duke was a winner. Tulane was a winner. Wisconsin was the loser on that triple play special. Tonight we've got Monday Night Football. And I'll tell you, some of these games that we're getting at night, like last Thursday night, and once again, why the Denver Broncos are on prime time, it's just exhausting. Why do we subject it to the Denver Broncos again? But they play the Chargers. 10 people will watch it. And then Thursday night, hopefully we'll see the Saints and the Cardinals. That's nothing to get excited. But could you imagine giving Kyler Murray $200 million? The guy can't play the game. Not at this level.
They should give all that money to Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Those guys are incredible.
Or how about Josh Heupel? You know, we talk about Josh Heupel right now. He got a $1 million extension at Tennessee while everybody else is making more money than he is, even after that extension. Tennessee's going to have to pony up a lot more. And by the way, $100,000 went to some fund for rushing the field. Nobody in Tennessee cares about that. Second year in a row, Alabama.
And they're trying. They got all over Twitter. They're trying to get people to GoFundMe to pay for it. I mean, seriously, yeah. It's $150,000 to replace the goalpost and the fine and everything. You know, I mean, come on, just ask Peyton to write a check, right?
That's right. Well, they got $1.5 billion in the endowment, which by relative measures is small, but they can take care of the goofy little fine that the SEC wants to impose. How can you blame those Tennessee fans for doing what they did?
Okay, here's another question I want to answer. Matt says, sorry to interrupt you. He says, Napier has to get better with his clock management. Okay, this is the end of the half. I'm going to explain to y'all what happened. It was 3rd down. Ball was about at midfield. I don't know if it was a pass or a run. I, from the box, thought it was a 1st down. I think everybody else did too. Fisher spotted it a yard short. So now the clock is ticking less than 10 seconds. The ball is 4th and 1 from about the opponent's LSU's like 46-yard line. Okay? If you take a timeout with 10 seconds left, you go for it and you don't get it, you just gave them the ball right there. So he let it go down, took the timeout for you got one shot, a Hail Mary. So I don't know what the hell these people are thinking. I mean,
well, there was something. I hope your fact line is correct because a lot of
people. It is because I thought it was a 1st down. They marked it short. It was 4th and 1. So he lets the clock go down, takes a timeout with 1 second left. We Hail Mary, but they blitzed us, which you're supposed to do in a Hail Mary, and you can't get it off, and ended the half. So if he takes the timeout with 10 seconds, we go for it and don't make it, JC, and then LSU gets it and throws a 10-yard out route, kicks a field goal, or throws a Hail Mary.
Are you sure
like a freaking moron?
Are you sure you got your down and distances right about that?
I'm 100%. I'm 100% on that.
Because a lot of folks where I was sitting was wondering, why isn't he stopping the clock? We still got time to do something.
No, it was 4th and 1. 4th and 1. 4th and 1.
Yeah, it's a little foggy for me. I'm glad you were.
John, well, of course it was. You weren't paying attention to the game, and I was paying attention to it.
But I think you're but never mind.
All right, this is here we go. Before we get you out of here, John says, Shane, enjoy the show. Only thing I have an issue with is notion that all these new coaches we always get that are going to get us back to the so-called promised land. I think it's best to just let the stuff come out in the wash and see what happens down the line. Fans have been told the last three staffs that they needed their guys in time. I agree, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, look, it ain't going to happen overnight.
What is his question?
It wasn't really a question. He was just talking about we got to get players. You know, They said the same thing with McElwain, same thing. Look, will Billy work out? I don't know. I will tell you this. He's got the best plan of any coach we've had here in the last few years. So time will tell. But here's the bottom line. And I'm a firm believer of this. Doesn't matter. You hear it on my show all the time. I don't care about your defense. I don't care about anything. If you cannot throw the football at a high rate, you are not going to win in football in today's world.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah, no, I do. I agree. I mean, that's when you look at the top 5 teams year in and year out, they are very deadly in the air. They can also run it, though, but they're deadly throwing the ball. And this thing about C.J. Stroud being the number 1 Heisman candidate at this point, I don't understand because he hasn't had anybody to throw against to this point, like Hendon Hooker has, like Bryce Young has. I mean, his numbers are going up against Indiana and Michigan State or whoever the hell they play. You know, Tennessee right now, I heard over the weekend, our friend Chris Doran said they should be the number 1 team in the country based on resume. But here's the reality. That's fine. Let them be the number 1 team in the country. It doesn't matter until we get to the end of December. So,
well, a lot of people are sitting here talking about the timeouts and stuff throughout the course of the game. And I'm not making excuses. I look at it from a coach's standpoint. You guys are looking at it as a fan, and it's okay just to call timeouts whenever the hell you want to call timeouts. You got to look at the big picture. And I have had 0 problems. Like I told you, I've only had one problem with his play calling, and that goes into timeouts. And that was after the punt return by Xavier Henderson against Missouri. I thought we were way too conservative. The dude knows what we have, okay? He's scared to death to call a pass play. I'm just going to tell you that right now. All right.
Well, let me see. He called a pass play on the second play of the game or whatever.
I know, because that was as safe as you could get, JC.
Yeah.
Because if the ball lands on the ground, what happens?
Keep doing it then. We'll do it again. Why'd we
they try. That's my point. Teams are taking away stuff deep because you don't think when you throw the ball deep. There's no reading.
Yeah.
Okay. And people do not understand that. Bottom line is we're not good on defense and we cannot throw the football.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that.
And I've told people that we were not going to be good throwing the football too, and we aren't. Yeah. And we're not going to be next year if he comes back.
So real quick before I leave, do you think now, with the presumption that we're going to be a 4-4 team in 2 weeks, you start letting some of these other kids get in there and get some experience playing some of these games against Vanderbilt, South Carolina?
Well, they're
really matter.
They're playing a lot of players. It's just I don't know if they let them start.
I'm talking about at the quarterback position, QB.
Oh, at the quarterback position, no.
No, we wouldn't want to get Jalen Kitna or the other guy anytime in the game, right? I
don't see that happening.
What would the downside be? What's the point? You're 4-4 in 2 weeks. What then? What are you trying to accomplish?
Hang on a second. I don't know what the hell David's talking about. He's saying your time frame is off. SOS would have never done that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong. I think I'm going to go back and look at that before the half sequence that you're talking about. I think you're mistaken.
It was 4th and 1. I'm telling you, it was 4th and 1.
I think before that, though, you're forgetting something, and that's why everybody was outraged. But I want to go back to my question.
Go back and watch it. Go back and watch it. You tell me if the last 10, 14 seconds wasn't.
I'm going to go watch. 4th and 1. I am. I'm going to watch that last sequence.
All right, we got to get to Scott Carr. We got to take a timeout.
You're not even going to answer that damn question. That's fine. Goofy. QB, you got to let these other guys play. I don't know what you're going to accomplish by wearing Anthony down.
Well, because they're paying him all that money, so they have to play him.
Billy ain't paying nobody.
Yeah, we're not. We need to take a break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like the Keys Bar and Grill, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Le Macaron, the Gadget Guys, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, now selling Head Beer Coach, American Lager in 16-ounce cans at Spurrier's, Visors, and Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. I'm going to welcome Scott Carter on the Titan MRI hotline. Scott, I just had you do a little research for me because I just argued with JC and our loyal listeners here. They wanted to know they're worried about Billy's timeouts at the end of the half. And what I told them was, and tell me if I'm wrong, we run a play on third down about midfield, gain about 6 yards or so. It looked like a first down. He doesn't take a timeout because they mark it short and it's 4th and 1.
Yep.
Okay, I am correct. Okay. Because if he takes a timeout there and you go for it, you don't make it, you give it back to LSU, and who knows what could happen. I had zero problem. I thought I was correct. I had zero problem with that timeout.
Yeah, it was a little pass to Keon Zipper that did fall short at the LSU 44. I think there was about 15 seconds left, somewhere like that, when the play ended, ran it down, called the timeout.
Right.
Yeah,
because if you call timeout right then immediately and you go for it and you don't make it, you've left a lot of time on not a lot, but you left time for LSU to get points. So look, none of these people have ever coached. I had zero problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at those situations in a lot of different ways, Shane. They took over 2:17 left. And, if you're really going to try to just race down the field, you're probably going to do it from the start, use your timeout. So they ran those 3 plays before the timeout, you could tell they were probably just going to look to run out the clock. But they got up there, and then, when the clock ran so short of the first down, I think that's when people started questioning us. So, Billy really didn't. Yeah, I mean, he kind of went into detail after the game. He didn't explain it too much. I think by that time, that point in the game was somewhat secondary, considering what transpired after that.
Yeah, I'm reading these. Well, look, it's over with and done. I don't know what these fans are all up in arms about. I understand it. But, Scott, we sat here all summer long saying if we won 7 games, it'd be a great year. So going back to the game the other night, obviously the defense, everybody is really concerned about the defense. I get it. It is what it is, though. People can blame the scheme. Well, first of all, here's the thing, folks. You can't change your scheme in the middle of a year. Okay? I don't think it's the scheme. It all comes down to we cannot pressure the quarterback with our front 4 or even when we rush 5. And maybe I look at it differently than the Gator Nation, but I thought Jaden Daniels made unbelievable throws all night long for LSU.
Well, I mean, he was certainly on top of his game. I think that's the best. A lot of people have seen Jaden Daniels. I think it's twofold. I think what you said is key. You know, when you don't get pressure on him, and he could sit back there in the pocket, yeah, he's going to look good, and he did. I mean, he picked apart. And then I also think that, yeah, there's still some obvious issues with the defense, but I think more than anything else, and I sound like a broken record here. Billy Napier is not going to get on the podium after the game Saturday night, and he's not going to throw his team under the bus. He's not going to throw his defensive coordinator under the bus 7 games into his tenure at UF. I know fans want to win every game, and I totally get that. I mean, it's a lot more fun for me too when they win. You deal with a lot more pleasant people. I get everything. But the bottom line is this is a program that I said this over the summer on some speaking tours. I've said it on interviews, radio shows, whatever. Is for the first time in history, I think this is a total reboot of the Florida football program, one that needed one. And I think Billy Napier, it kind of went, it's just a factual statement that he made after the game, but I thought it was really important as a reminder, and I'm sure he threw it out there as a reminder in his own way. But he said, remember, guys, it's been 14 years since Florida's won an SEC championship or national championship. We've got work to do. And I think people forget about that a lot of times.
I just argued with JC about that because he's like, I can't believe, oh, sorry, LSU came here. I was like, JC, we're all grouped in that middle of the pack of the SEC right now. Everybody is, except for like 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. We have not been relevant and had good teams in quite some time. Yeah, we had a good offense with Trask or whatever that year, but that was it. Real quick, we've had a couple of Facebook Lives here, and I'm curious because I didn't know, because we usually know on air who's going to likely play in the game and who's not.
Yep.
I was shocked to see Lorenzo Lingard in the game. And then Naquan was never in the game. You know anything going on there?
It must have been a late injury or something, because, I mean, Naquan would be in there if he was fully ready. I mean, that was a surprise to me too, but it was such a late game, and those late games, Shane, sometimes the post-game media doesn't last as long, and I don't recall that being a big topic after the game, so I'll have to look into that more. But yeah, that was a surprise. It was like the same thing with Devin Moore a couple weeks ago. I mean, he was ready on Wednesday night, but I guess he tweaked something on Thursday, got hurt, and he's missed a couple games, and it caught us off guard. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there as far as long term. So hopefully it's nothing serious. But again, that was a minor detail in the game. I mean, I think this was a game that, we talked about this, Shane. I thought this was a very important game to kind of set the tone for the second half of the season. And now, it does. The reality is that I think people need to just go ahead and, okay, yes, here's where the Gators are. If they go 6-6, 7-5, that's about where they are. Unless suddenly something shockingly happens that gets a lot better. I know people don't like that, but then all you got to do is rewind it to the start of camp. And I mean, end of last season, I think Billy said something else that was interests me. He said this has been more about the people up to this point, and that's what I think he meant there. It's kind of reestablishing the accountability with some of the players and the program and discipline, and that takes time again. So we'll see how they respond here, because when you are a team that has accountability, you show up when the times are tough, and now they're facing a very difficult challenge in their next game.
Yeah, the next game is an uphill battle for sure. Got a text here on the Titan Mart text line. Says, Shane, LSU's 4th wide receiver is better than our best receiver. They have some dudes there, and Billy stated that all week long about how talented their receiving core is. I mean, they got Kayshon Boutte is going to be a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, he's a big-time player. I think LSU, they're definitely just as talented, probably a little bit more maybe, I think, on the roster than the Gators are at this point. They're top-line players, and I think that was a difference in some ways the other night. And I didn't see Jaden Daniels throwing for 349 yards. I thought he would give him some more trouble in the running part of the game. But bottom line is the throws were there to be made. The time was there to make them, and he made them.
Yeah, I thought he was phenomenal Saturday night. Dan asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, what about Torrance, will he be back for Georgia?
Hard to say. I mean, he's had I think he was in the concussion protocol earlier this season. I don't know what the latest one is. They need all the bodies they can get back there, but quite frankly, I don't think what we saw Saturday night was anything.
No, I think he's talking about Osiris.
Oh, Osiris. Yeah, I think they're hoping to get him back. Yes. But he was one of those guys that, he's valuable up there.
Yeah, he is. At Chris Doring Morris, they do Morris Lending Right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Morris today at 352-244-0840. Speaking of Scott Carter, you can follow Scott on Twitter at Gators Scott. It's been an exhausting morning, Scott, because I understand people's frustration. I really do.
I get it, yeah.
But I don't. Maybe it's because I've known what this team was since after spring practice.
Yeah.
And does it bother me? Absolutely it does. But I'm not surprised because I knew this is what they were. I mean, you saw the practices. I mean, we knew that if they could win 7 games, it'd be a hell of a year. That's what I just told JC. The damn Utah game screwed everybody's thought process up.
It did. And, I was a little bit in that camp too, because, that surprised me, that win over Utah. I thought they could win, but you just didn't know. And then when they did, the atmosphere, the excitement built. And then, of course, back to reality against Kentucky. And that's where we've been since then. And, look, man, I know we're not going to convince anybody otherwise. If they're mad at the Gators, they don't like Billy Napier, they hate the defense, they're going to stay that way.
I told them they need to go find another team then.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do, because why sit around for the next month and a half and just be miserable? Go start going fishing for a while, because the reality is, they're going to surprise us somewhere. Maybe they win at Texas A&M. Maybe they go over to Florida State and kick butt. Maybe they give Georgia a hell of a game, and who knows, shocks the world. But they're also going to have games like they did against LSU the other night that were winnable. And it's frustrating because the defense is giving up those passes, or the running game, takes off. Like LSU, last year killed them on the run, this year on the pass. That's just where they are. Billy Napier is in a tough spot because his message is probably going to be very similar to here on out. I mean, it is what it is. We can say it maybe a little bit better, that he's not going to start tossing people under the bus left and right. But he's in it for the long haul. I mean, he knew that this year wasn't going to be 11-1 or 10-2. He's not going to say that publicly, because he's going to want to win every game. But the reality is that is where this program is. And while some of us maybe got distorted with that win over Utah, again, if you kind of look at the roster, go down the roster, Shane, and I've told people this, I mean, I think you can make the argument that this might be the least talented Florida roster from top to bottom since going back to before the program really took off in the 80s and started producing all those NFL players. And, that's just where they are. But guess what? They're really making up a lot of ground on the recruiting trail. And I believe that they're really going to turn this thing around sooner than later. So, I mean, if you're looking at the big picture, you're not too concerned, which is where I am. But if you're going to really get pissed off if they lose to Georgia, go fishing, man.
Yeah, go fishing. Kevin says here on Ask on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon, when is it time to put Watson on the bench? Not sure why he's out there. Look, Desmond Watson, it's a great story, everything, but I've had buddies of mine that I play with in the league that watch college football, and they'll text me going, why are y'all playing number 21? and it just goes to show you where the roster is right now. I mean, Desmond should probably be playing 5 to 10 snaps a game at tops when you have your roster the way it is. I mean, when you have it set with a real legitimate SEC roster, or he may not be playing at all.
Yeah, I mean, you love to see those guys get in there. He is a great story, and you like to see him get better. I think he's getting better, but he's still, is what you call some kind of, in some ways, maybe a project player at a program like Florida under normal circumstances, when you got probably a couple guys ahead of him who are going to take the bulk of the snap. But again, that's just the depth of the program. It's something that has been building for 3 to 4 years. It got covered up for a couple years because they were winning, but then it came crashing down last year and during COVID. And, here's where we are. This is as a result of all that. And I think there'll be a lot better days ahead very soon. But right this year, it's going to be a scrap until the end of the season.
We got a text here before we get you out of here, Scott. Larry says, Shane, did you see on Twitter that Brandon Spikes was in an uproar after being removed from the sideline? Are you familiar with that at all?
That's news to me. I mean, I didn't see it, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about it. I just know that now I've never been a guy who went on the sidelines for games, but I want to say they only have so many passes that they can apply to former players.
Yeah, it's funny you ask or bring this up because last week I even checked on sideline passes before the game, and they were overloaded with requests. And you're right; they only have so many that they can give out. So, maybe it was the first time he's faced that when he's been back and he was asked to leave. I don't know, but it's just called handling it a little bit better. Maybe it's not.
Yeah. Well, he probably shouldn't have tweeted that either. I mean, that's a bad look.
Yeah.
Both ways around, regardless of the situation. Just discuss it because if you're not on the list, you're not going to be able to just show up and then give you a pass. It doesn't work that way.
Not at a game like LSU where they had so many visitors and NFL scouts and all that stuff. Again, I'm sure hopefully it's not anything that's going to be lasting.
Yeah. All right, Scott, we appreciate your time. Got a week off. I know you'll be covering other sports probably, or maybe you're going to go on vacation.
I think I'm going to take a weekend off and hang out with the family for a change and just, de-Gatorize for a weekend, Shane. I'm always excited about Georgia, Florida, Georgia. We'll talk about that next week, but who knows? Maybe they'll turn some things around and they go over there and put up a really good fight. And but yeah, I think it's just going to be one of those weeks where it's going to be quiet with the media. I think Billy's going to talk to us on Wednesday, but I'm sure they could use a break right now too.
Real quick, Joseph says the issue was Spikes was outside of the designated area and talking to the players, and there's a rule that prohibits people on the sideline talking to. Yeah, you can't be like hanging out in the area where the players are. So that makes sense then.
I got you.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Scott, great stuff as always. And one more thing. Chaz says, "What is the story behind Willie Jackson's kid's tweet?" I saw that. I think it was fabricated.
Yeah, they were looking into that after the game the other night. I know assistant coach called him, and I don't know the final resolution. I was busy, but it looked to me like probably one of his peeps on the Instagram stories, maybe. But I don't know if that was, like you said, they could have easily put that message up there and captioned it and all that. I don't know. I don't know the story there.
Like we could take a picture of you right now, Scott, and then put in there "Gators suck" and post it.
Probably. That's
crazy what people can do now.
Man. I hope that it was that was the case for Khalil Jackson, because you don't want to see a guy be doing that after a game.
No, not at all. All right, Scott, have a good week off, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Shane, have a good one.
Scott Carter, join us on the Titan More Hotline. Let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports, 2012, Lance Armstrong loses a host of endorsements in the wake of his doping scandal. That's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com, 352-240-1779. Tomorrow's program, make sure you tune in. We're going to have Ben Chase, the young Gator who's been traveling around the country trying to do like 60 football games in a month or something like that. It's crazy. So crazy. So Ben will be on the program. We'll have Buddy first and then Ben about 8:25. So tell all your friends and family. And Scott made a great point. Gator fans, quit stressing. We are who we are this year. There's nothing that can be done. So go fishing. and just enjoy the Gators. I mean, we all want to win, but we are who we are. Asa says, nice call in the game Saturday. Thanks, Asa. I really enjoyed doing it with Sean. We had Mick up in the press box as well. So it was good to have Mick up there. He had a couple of oh my's in there. I think his oh my came when Besh fumbled